Hello, welcome to a new video of Dynasty War, and today we're going to talk about enhancing Tong skill or not. And last week I talked about Zhou Yu, and I said he is one of the few heroes I really want to have back again. And Tong is another one that I really want to have because for similar reason, for defense, on offense it's okay for some type of battles. But in this video I'll mainly kind of compare Tong with Zhou Yu and Guojia at the same time because they have similarities. For example, if you just look at his skill, 15-second cooldown, does some damage and freeze enemies for 8 seconds. So really good for defense, but in contrast with Zhou Yu's skill actually do a lot of damage. It works for heroes and troops because it's big range. However, Tong is not really good for clearing the troops nor clearing the heroes, but it's more like a utility, a skill that freeze them basically. That's what it is. Freeze an enemy for 8 seconds. 800 damage is not really enough to kill troops. I mean, some troops have over 1,000 HP, so it's not really ideal for killing troops because the damage only apply to the 4 location where the ice hits. And right here it doesn't even tell you it's 4, but if you use Tong, or if you've seen Tong before, he will launch 4 ice blocks on you. 1 in his target, and then the other 3 will be randomly at 4 locations. These 4 locations is basically diagonally next to the first one. So if you imagine his skill has 1 target and then there's an X on top of it. So the first eyes will attack the target and then 3 will be randomly distributed among the 4 tips of the X. Basically that's kind of like that. At least that's what I observed. But 8 seconds, that's it. I mean, 8 seconds you can kill a hero. He himself can kill a hero. I mean, with other structures or troops or heroes to help you, easily you can do that. But the awakening skill reduces the movement speed by 70% for 7 seconds at 5 out of 5. So this effect is applied to the area of his skill. There is no clear indication of how big the area of his skill is, but we could assume something, and we will talk about that a bit later. And 70% movement speed is a lot, and important is only the movement speed, not attack speed, because if it's attack speed, it's super overpowered because then they can't even attack 70%. I mean, 70% movement speed is like, you know what, I can't freeze you, but you're basically frozen, okay? And what it does is it guarantee that you don't waste Tong's skill. It guarantees that Tong will have some sort of effect when he uses skill, because if you can't freeze the target, guess what? Well, you are slowed for 70% movement speed, and that's a lot because well, we'll talk about how much that is and how effective that is just in a little bit. And in fact, let's just go to Excel and see the difference. So right here I listed the damage for level 50 10 out of 10 and level 60 15 out of 15. It goes from 651 to 796, so the difference is 145. What that means is, what I'm trying to tell you is, you don't need to level up his own original skill because you only get 145 extra damage from pre-awakened and awakened. And remember, you don't get all 145 damage from the 5 enhancement. You get about half of it from the 10 extra level. So probably if you just go from 10 out of 15 to 15 out of 15, you probably get like around 60 to 70 extra damage. It's like nothing. The only benefit that you might want is extra freezing time, but you don't get it. It's still 8 seconds. Similar to Guojia, you go from 10 to 15, you don't get extra freeze time. It's still 10 seconds. But Guojia is an active skill, so it tends to have more damage. So the increase in there actually gives you more damage. So that's some reason that you want to. But in here, it's only 145 extra damage. You rarely will use Tong on offense, except for Alliance Dungeon. But 100, even 1,000 extra damage in Alliance Dungeon doesn't do you much because things in there are like in tens and hundreds of thousand HP. Giving you 100 extra damage per ice cube doesn't do much. So absolutely don't need to level up his original skill. Now the awakening skill starts at 3 seconds, and then with each level you get 1 extra second to 7 seconds. So if you think about it, it's very familiar because it's the same increment as Guojia. Guojia, you start with 3 seconds, and then once you get to 5 you get 7 seconds. But Guojia, you freeze them when you die, freeze 3 target, which is silly because once you die you don't do much, okay? And it's only 3 targets. However, Tong, he is still alive when he uses his skill, and it's not only 3 targets, it's any amount of targets, troops, that is inside his range. And I'm gonna say that his range is decently big, not like 2 tiles in front of him. Obviously, it's more than that. So with that, if you slow them for 7 seconds, it is useful because they will not be able to move around that quickly. Even 3 seconds will be good because Tong can just auto attack them. And there's a few cases scenarios that I need to give you to see how effective it is and how many times you have to level it up. Because on the right, you can see I listed some movement speed and what is the final movement speed after the reduction. So most heroes have movement speed around 2 to 3, okay? Archer hero has lower than that, below 2. I mean, I think heroine has like 1.8. Shield hero with the movement speed partnership can move faster than 3, but I'm not going to talk about that as well because most heroes are in here. So the first case is the Archer hero. Archer hero, yes, they move slow, but they have 5 tile range, okay? And what range does Tong's skill has? I'm going to assume 3 tiles, okay? So first of all, he has 3 tiles range by himself auto attack. So in order for him to use his skill on his target, he needs to be 3 tiles away. So I am assuming his skill actually has another 3 tile. So the furthest target that Tong can affect is 6 tiles away from him. And I'm going to assume that he can't freeze that far. So whatever the target that is standing 6 tiles away from him can be slowed but not freeze. So if you are an Archer hero and you're at the 6th tile, you get slowed, it only takes you to move 1 extra tile. So even, I mean, movement speed like this, it takes you like 2 seconds to move 1 tile, and then you're in range to shoot Tong. Remember, it's only movement speed, it's not attack speed. So once they're in range, once they're attacking, it doesn't matter. So that's one thing. In fact, if that's the case, the Archer hero might have a better advantage because they have farther range. So Tong will have to move to them as well. So in that case, it doesn't matter. I mean, level 1 skill is enough. You don't need to slow them for 3 seconds. So the effect on Archer hero is not that big. Okay, that's the first thing. The second thing is fan hero, because they have 3 tile range. That's the second scenario. Fan hero, they need to be in 3 tiles range to auto attack you. And if they're auto attacking you, you're auto attacking them. I mean, that's it. They're not moving, they are attacking. So it doesn't matter. So what does it take for a fan hero to be at 6 tiles away to move to 3 tiles away? That's 3 tiles long. So it takes about, I mean, if you just take this, about 4 seconds. So that means first 1 out of 5 is not enough because, well, I mean, technically it's enough because you slow them already, but Tong will not be attacking them while they're slowed because you need to be in 3 tiles range as well. And that might be useful because obviously there are other buildings, other heroes, other troops attacking as well. So that might be useful. But after the 3 seconds in here, they will start moving at the same pace. They can get to whatever they need to get to. But the other thing is, it's still not very useful in terms of effect because, I mean, they can get into range easily. Now, obviously, the next case would be Sword hero and Shield hero because they have melee range. They're in 1 tile range. But before I get into that, I want to remind you guys that most buildings or targets that your troops will be attacking, they are within 4 to 5 tile range, right? It's not a usual case where, oh, I destroyed this target, let me move like 30 tiles away to my next target. Usually that doesn't happen until the end of the battle where you're clearing out the rest of the base. Most of the times you attack this building or this hero, you move like 3-4 targets, 3-4 tiles away, and then attack your next target. So you don't really need them. There's very little chance that your hero or your troops are moving like 10 to 15 tiles away to attack the next target. Now, we're going to talk about the Sword hero and Shield hero. Yes, they can be 6 tiles away, but what if they are very close, 3 tiles away, and your Tong can actually auto-attack them? In that case, it takes them 4 to 5 seconds, Sword hero or Shield heroes, 4 or 5 seconds to get into melee range to attack Tong. That's very advantageous because at that point, you need to have at least 5 or 6 seconds of this effect because it will take them the whole 4 or 5 seconds for them to go from 3 tiles away to right next to your Pong Tong and auto attack you. Because Sword, especially Sword Hero, they have high DPS. Pong Tong is a relatively weak hero in terms of HP. So if your Pong Tong get hit by a Sword Hero a couple times, he will die. And you might not be able to kill him during that 3-4 seconds duration while the Sword Hero is walking towards you, but you will definitely take at least 2 or 3 auto attack from them. Just imagine going from 3 tiles to next to you, it takes 4 seconds. Pong Tong has an auto attack of 1 second. If you have the attack speed attribute, that's faster than that. So that's a couple thousand damage in that 3-4 seconds to the hero by Pong Tong himself only. And there is nothing that the Sword Hero can do to attack back, because they are moving very slow. So that's one scenario. The other scenario, obviously, they don't have to be walking towards Pong Tong. They can walk to other buildings. And it takes them 4 to 5 seconds to move 3 tiles. That's just how it is. If you just take the average of these, you can just make quick. Because let's take the average, 2.5 seconds, then they will be reduced at 0.75 movement speed. It takes 4 seconds to move 3 tiles in that case. So it does make an effect that if your movement speed is higher, you don't need as much time. But 4 to 5 seconds is like perfectly enough right there. It's just barely, I shouldn't say perfectly enough, it's barely enough to make sure that they are slowed from the first target to the initial target to the next target. Obviously, if you have more than that, if they are walking if they have to travel for longer, then that affect them. But as I was saying earlier, your target to target distance is usually 3 to 4 tiles long. So 4 seconds might not be enough, but 5 or 6 seconds is definitely enough to do enough damage to kill that hero or save your life. Because imagine that it takes 4 seconds for the Sword Hero to get into range. Without that, it only takes about a second and a little bit for that Sword Hero to come to auto attack your Pong Tong. And what that does is there is 2 to 3 extra seconds. For Sword Hero, that's equivalent to 2 to 3 attack. That's 2 to 3,000 damage that can be dealt to your Pong Tong. Pong Tong will die in that case. But if you can basically neglect that 2 to 3,000 damage, and you can do 2 to 3,000 damage beforehand to the Sword Hero, you have a much bigger advantage, because obviously you have other stuff to help you as well or whatever. But in my opinion, you have to level up Pong Tong's awakening skill up to a certain point. Maybe 4 or 5 is enough, because 200,000 beats to get to the next level for 1 extra second, it's obviously very expensive, just in most other cases. But I don't think the 7 second is needed. I don't see any hero or troops moving around for more than 7 seconds before they stop and start auto attacking. So I don't really think this is needed. It's very rare case that your troops will be walking for more than 7 seconds. So probably 5 or 6 seconds is enough. So 3 out of 5 or 4 out of 5 is enough. And this is it for this video for Pong Tong. It's a very useful hero already. It's very strong. His awakening skill guarantee that his skill doesn't mess up. And yes, I would suggest going for his awakening skill to at least level 3, and then you don't go for his original skill. And if you have enough resource, yeah, go for 4 out of 5, and I think that's it. And then you can go to a different hero and forget about Pong Tong. Relatively low investment after awakening, and it's still very useful, very annoying. At least when I attack Pong Tong, I find it very annoying, and I really want him back as well. But that is it for this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.